Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you are watching and listening to a new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And joining me, as always, are my co-hosts, Rebellious D and Trav. How you fellas doing today?
Hanging out, man.
Ready to rock, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got the smile on my face, and I'm ready.
Hey, I see you. You got a big smile, man. You got a big smile. I love it. And joining us on today's episode is Mrs. Brianne Davis. How are you doing, Brianne?
Excellent. Amazing. Stupendous.
I like stupendous.
Hey, I love how you're using all the big words. Thank you again for joining us on today's episode.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So before we get into this interview, everybody that's watching this video, make sure that you like it, you subscribe to our channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new episodes here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. So let's go ahead and get into today's episode. So Brianne, before we dive deep into the interview portion and just ask you questions, tell everybody your origin story. Who is Brianne Davis?
Oh my God, that's like the $1 million question. That took me how many years to figure out who I am? I'm just kidding.
I still ain't figured out for me. So.
Right? Exactly. You're like, who am I? Am I still like a toddler running around in this adult body? But
so it feels like.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're all kids at heart.
That's why I think we're all like running around just wanting to be loved. Love me. Make me feel like I'm enough. But I am Brianne Davis. I'm an actress for 20 years. I've been on tons of shows. I'm one of those actors you're like, I've seen you before, but I don't know what you're from. But I'm on Lucifer right now, Casual on Hulu, 6 on the History Channel, and now on Hulu, Jarhead, Synchronicity, Prom Night, to name a few, and every other show you can imagine. I just wrote a book called Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict, coming out as a sex and love addict in Hollywood. I'm 11 years into recovery, and I have a podcast called Secret Life where people call in and tell me their secrets and their shame, and I allow them to reveal it, anonymous or well-known. So yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
That is so cool. I love the anonymous. Who was the lady that would write in the newspaper thing for? But she was anonymous.
To write in what newspaper? Like
yeah,
one
Trav.
of my.
There was a famous
the Steve Harvey show, man.
No, there was like a famous anonymous. Lady.
Oh, was it like Judy? Her name was what? Dear Abby.
Dear Abby. There it is.
Okay.
Dear Abby, where
I'm
people
like
could just get
new
stuff off
Dear
their
Abby.
chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm like
that.
this generation.
Yeah, the
Dear
digital
Abby.
Abby.
Right, I love it. Oh, that's so good. I'm gonna have to steal that from you.
Hey, it's all yours.
Okay.
So, Brianne, the first time I had seen you on screen was in the movie Prom Night. I want to say this was back in 2008. When I had just graduated high school back in 2007. So I feel like this was a really interesting movie to see because we all have crazy prom night stories.
I do not.
Hopefully none of them involved somebody trying to murder people. But
yeah, Jonathan Sheck going around trying to murder your prom date.
But yeah, I mean, like, it was interesting, seeing you in that movie. You played the prom committee queen who was pretty much running everything. But your first acting role that I looked up, it was in Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, totally.
I want to just let you know. I mean, I don't really recall you in it or anything specifically. I don't want to pretend like, I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but we keep it real up here.
I grew up with my family watching that, those new episodes, and that theme song. It's iconic, man.
Yeah, no, I came in the last season playing, I think it was like hot assistant. I think her name was Ashley. That was her name. And I was like, really? Do you have to have hot assistant? Can't she just be like Ashley?
Oh, man.
So when I put it in and like when it came in on IMDb, it said hot assistant Ashley or whatever. And I took off the hot assistant and then they put it back on.
Oh my God.
It's just like Wikipedia. Hey, Wikipedia.
Totally. But yeah, I loved, that was my first role. And that's when I realized I wanted to be an actor. I loved becoming other people and putting on, makeup and costumes and being someone else.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking? Sorry, Banks.
All right, go ahead.
How around
old
that
was
time.
I think I was.
I don't want to age any of us, but
you're not supposed to ask a woman her age, Trav.
Yeah,
I was just saying, I mean, you already said when we graduated, so I mean, you already.
Yeah,
you already put me on blast, sir.
Honestly, I can't recall exactly what age, but I was about to graduate high school, or I was still living in Atlanta, driving up to Wilmington to audition. It was before self-tapes, so it was like driving there 6 hours, going to the audition, driving home, because I didn't have enough money to get like a motel, or I was too young, and my dad went with me. So it was a long time ago. It was the olden days.
So what you're saying? Cell phones. So you're saying they actually hired teenagers to play teenagers and not 30-year-olds to play teenagers?
Well, at that time the character was in college, I think. So I played a little bit older than I was. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, what was it that made you want to get into acting?
Well, I was always very shy. So growing up, I, didn't talk to strangers. I just got nervous around people. People make me very, very nervous. Still to this day, they do.
I know that feeling.
No, I find myself like I compare in my book women are like myself to a cat. Like I attack someone like a cat before I get to know them, because people make me nervous, and you never know what they're thinking. So
exactly. Yeah. People are judgmental. So I totally understand.
So I just grew up like that, and I was in my shell, and I had a learning disability. I had ADHD, and I'm dyslexic. But when I started acting, it allowed me to be somebody else. So I put on this persona, and I could be someone else and feel and act a certain way, like playing Chrissy Lynn on Prom Night, like to get to say those lines, those bitchy lines, and it not be me is so fun.
Right.
So I just really like, it opens my shell. And it also helped with my learning disability, memorizing lines, practicing, reading all the time, reading scripts really fast, making decisions really quickly. So I just think it was what I needed to, open myself up.
It's a great coping mechanism. I mean,
Totally.
and apparently you're really good at it. So,
oh, thanks.
Yep, no worries.
So, something I wanted to piggyback off of when you had brought up your role as Chrissy, and being able to say certain lines that made you come off as not a nice person. We've had actors and voice actors up here before, and there have been times where it's like the character who they portrayed, they got backlash because of something that they did on screen, or something that they did while voice acting. Has there ever been a time where there's been a character that you've portrayed and like you've either gotten backlash or you've gotten love? Like, do you have any stories like that?
Well, everybody really loves Lena Graves on Six. They loved her the first season because she was so sweet. But at the end, I broke up with Barry Sloan, that played my husband, and then I got a backlash from that, being like, oh, she's just so I felt like in every interview I was like justifying her action. And then the other one I get a lot of backlash in is Murder in the First. I played with Tom Felton, Harry Potter, and the Harry Potter people are like, they either love me or hate me. And I still get tons and tons of messages because we have a kissing scene, and then he like kills me.
Yeah.
And there's like all this backlash from that character too.
Wow.
So silly. It's like, I'm an actor. I'm not like really. Tom Felton and I were not together. Like, calm down.
Well, it's crazy too, because people love Tom now, but like when we were kids, we hated Draco Malfoy.
Oh my God, they're obsessed with them.
Yeah, now he's a stud.
Yeah, they're like, and they asked me like, how was kissing? Can you rate him 1 to 100? Like, I get these questions probably every day, like 20 of them a day. Still.
Good Lord.
Right. So how was it like kissing? No,
oh my God,
it's just such a weird question to ask somebody.
Yeah.
And then they're like, isn't your husband angry? Isn't he mad? How can you be? And I'm like, it was a job and I was paid for it. What are you
exactly?
I can't believe people actually ask you that.
Oh my God. I can literally pick up my phone and show you just today how many times got asked that. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
But I love them. They are like the best fans in the world. If they love you, they're like, they like have your back. Yeah. But the ones that, want to marry Tom and stuff just come after me like nobody's business.
It's terrible.
So I wanted to touch on Lucifer because I saw that was like one of the most recent shows that you had become a part of. And I recently, like, I'm only on the first season, so I haven't gotten that far to see your character yet. But how do you feel about being on a show such as Lucifer, where, you know, it started off big and then it ended up getting canceled and then it got revived on Netflix? Like, how do you feel being a part of that family now?
Oh my God, it's the best family ever. Honestly, working on that series, it's just like the love everybody has for it and working on it, and everybody's so happy and grateful. And the character Detective Dancer she's like 4 people in one. So it was just really fun. Every scene I got to become somebody else. So I'm so grateful for that show. It's an amazing show.
Yeah,
nice.
Something like Lucifer with a fandom like that.
Yeah, it does.
It's pretty, the fans can get real. I know when it was canceled, there was, some serious, what's the word I'm looking for? Uproar. Thank you. Some serious uproar about it.
Yeah.
Because it was left on such a, that it wasn't supposed to end this way. And then, for Netflix, Netflix always like becomes the hero, or at least they portray themselves
to be. Or they cancel.
Yeah.
Or they cancel after one season. You're either like one or the other.
Well, I feel like they'll cancel their shows after one season, but they always like to play the hero and pick up, some other network's show.
Totally.
Be like, we're not the.
Hey, one man's trash, right?
Yeah, because something similar had happened with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where it canceled and then NBC swooped in and saved it. So I feel like it's always good when a network it sees the response that a show gets when it gets canceled, or it ends on a cliffhanger and people want to see more, and the network swoops in and saves it. Like, there's so many shows that ended on cliffhangers that we either grew up watching, or like they probably just had one season. It could have came out last year and then it ended up getting canceled, but the show was really good. But because they didn't have like, let's say for a cartoon, for example, because the toy sales were low, the show didn't get renewed for another season. I don't know how it is for like live action shows, when like is it the ratings for like why a show gets canceled? Because sometimes it can have high ratings and it can still get canceled.
I think
it just really means on like the budget and how much they spend on it, how much the advertisers are paying for those time slots. Really, it's all about the advertisers. If advertisers aren't willing to pay for it, then the show will get canceled. It's not, honestly, when I think about my job, I am just pushing product. Like the shows are just pushing the commercials, pushing products. So we're just part of, the commerce too. But, we do it in a creative way. And
that's so... I don't know. That gets my mind kind of going, where it's like everything's this machine, and it's like
it's this machine trying to sell a product, and they sell that product, and then we get product placements too. Like on 6, on our show, there we had like a tequila, and we had some other. I can't remember. I think it was one of the guys' equipment. They were products placed in our show to then get people to buy that product.
And it works though.
Yeah, for real.
It does work because it's like under the radar. You don't feel like you're watching a commercial. And we always used to, whoever had to say the line saying the product was like the loser. Like somebody, Edwin Hodge had to say the tequila line, and he was so like, ugh. But it was so funny.
So, go ahead, Trav.
No, I was just gonna say, because it's just hard. I've never looked at a show like to try and sell me something, and obviously, I would assume no actor, actress, or whatever goes into doing the show to sell something. But you got the guys on the board, just like moving the years.
At some capacity, I would imagine it's something like a partnership. Hey, you help us advertise, and it goes into the budget for the show, right, or the project.
Yeah, no, the product gives money to the budget of the show.
Exactly.
So for example, if you watch World War Z, right, with Brad Pitt, there's that scene where he hits the Pepsi machine and the Pepsis all fall out to get the zombies to come. But if you watch it now on FX, it's always on FX, they blurred the Pepsi logo. So now there's no Pepsi logo, but you can still tell it's Pepsi. But because they didn't want to pay for that product placement during it replaying, so they took it out. So
that's neat.
Yeah,
that's how you know.
I'm gonna start paying attention to cuts like that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
me
go
too.
ahead, Banks. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, it's funny that you say that, Brianne, because I remember when I was younger and on Disney Channel they were showing a commercial for National Treasure, or like a behind the scenes commercial, and Nicolas Cage, he had a bottle of Aquafina, but on Disney Channel it was blurred out, but in the movie it wasn't blurred out, and
because they didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, they didn't pay for it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So you should look at every movie on TV and see what's blurred out, because that company paid some of the budget.
Oh, I will.
That's crazy.
It's like a new game. It's like a drinking game. Find the products that paid for the movie.
That's it.
I wonder, like, has it always been like that? I mean,
guess
because
so.
It's something that I'd never noticed. You know what? Besides that.
You know what I love that Nickelodeon would do for the kid shows? They would create their own product based off another product. They never had the Apple product. They had Pear.
Yeah.
And it was like,
but that's just like, well, and you can't say certain names. Like I had dialogue where I had to say Band-Aid or something, or Jello, like Jello shots. Oh, let's do some Jello shots on American Virgin, and I couldn't say Jello, so I had to say gelatin shots.
And who says that?
You got to make that
work. And I was like, really? I have to say it? So sometimes you have this dialogue where you're like, I can't say I need a Band-Aid, because Band-Aid is the name of a company and they're not paying for it and you can't use it. So yeah, it's really technical, and sometimes as an actor you get stuck saying like the worst lines ever that you have to make work. So literally in that American Virgin, I'm like, everybody, let's do some gelatin shots. like that's what I had to say. And I was like, and there's supposed to be like loud music in this party scene, and I have to scream it even though there's no music. It's just like the most awkward thing to do sometimes as an actor.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Something else that I wanted to ask, because Lucifer, it is a comic book show. Like, are you into like the whole comic movie phase that's going on right now?
No, I'm so not. I just never, and I'm just honest, like I'm not a superhero comic book kind of person. I've just never been into it. I'm not into video games or anything like that. But I would love to play them. Who's ever casting, I'm still castable.
That's right.
We'll get you in touch. We know some.
Okay. Okay, good.
I like that, Trav.
Hey, well, this is cool because like we're a nerd podcast, and
I love it.
And a lot of people in nerd culture, they listen, so it's just like they might say, hey, somebody might be listening. Like Trav said, they'll reach out to you. You never know who's listening.
Yeah.
You never know.
I love playing animation and all that stuff. I just have a toddler and I'm writing and acting, so I don't have time to do I haven't seen a movie, you guys, in so long. I can't even tell you. So I still love acting all the time and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Look, I'm like giving my resume. Hey guys.
So Miss Brianne, I wanted to ask you a question. Was there ever a role where it was hard for you to get into character, or
that's a good question.
Do you ever just take them and own them?
You know what? For me, I just assume the position of whatever the character is going through. So I've never had a character where I'm like, I don't know how to become this character. Okay. I've gotten parts given to me before, like auditioning, like I got offered parts. So sometimes when I go and shoot those movies that are offered, I don't know exactly what the director or producers are thinking. So it's always good for me to have a conversation with them. Like, do you see the character this way or this way? But no, really, I just make a strong choice and I just go for, broke whenever I'm trying to play a character. But I would say the Lucifer character was the one where I had to like laser focus, because she had to be funny and she had to be real, and then she had to be all these different characters. So I had to like bounce very quickly from line to line, being different people. That makes sense.
Got it. Yeah.
And Banks, if you don't mind, I just want to
go ahead,
interject real quick. So we've gotten kind of like some behind the scenes stuff before from talking to other people. Banks or D, jar my memory real quick. What's the name of the guy that played Spawn? And he was also in Backlash.
Michael Jai White.
Okay, Michael Jai White. So I've seen things before where Michael Jai White was talking about Heath Ledger when he played Joker. And like sometimes, even though you see them in the same scene, that doesn't mean that they shot the scenes together. But he talks about how Heath Ledger came in for those scenes, sat in makeup, did all these things that he didn't have to do just to get the scene right for everybody. When you're doing stuff like Jarhead, some of the bigger stuff, Prom Night, and you got like a pretty good cast of like stars, quote unquote. Were they there? Did you never even meet them? I mean,
no. I mean, anytime you get with someone that's been in the business a long time, they're very helpful to the other actor. Like some of my stuff that was cut out for Jarhead, Jake Gyllenhaal was actually off camera, like we were doing this calls and stuff with each other off camera. Right. So I came in for him when we had calls and sat, in a room with calling him. So no, I didn't. I've only had one situation where someone didn't really want to say the lines off screen and they just left, and then it was like an AD saying the lines. So that's only happened to me once, but actors are pretty respectful of other actors. Right. Like we want it to be the best it can be. We don't want to put something out that's crappy,
But the reality is Jake didn't have to do that. He did it for the love of doing it. Right. Gotcha.
Well, and I think if your director asked you to do it, Sam Mendes is pretty serious about his movie. So I'm sure he was like, you need to come and do this. But I think he would do it anyways.
Right. Yeah, because you never know what kind of personalities that you're going to get,
Usually I say the people you think are the meanest people are like the nicest people.
That's what we hear.
People you think are like America's sweetheart, the most kind people are like monsters. Yeah. That would be how I would
I've heard so many stories. Many stories about people that notoriously play a bad guy, but the reality is they're just so nice. Everybody loves them.
Yep, like Draco.
Just like Tom Felton.
Yep.
He is. Tom is very sweet. He's very funny and very, very easy to work with.
So I wanted to, kind of snowball into you becoming a director because you had mentioned it. And two of the projects that you had directed was Psychophonia and The Night Visitor. What was the path that led you to want to get into directing, and how was it directing these two films?
Well, that's the thing. I never wanted to be a director. And what happened was I was in The Night Visitor, and The Night Visitor 2 was casting, and I had a small little scene in it, and the producers were like looking for a director, and I was talking to them, and all of a sudden, I'm not joking, it was like something out of the universe like went through my body and was like, why don't I direct it?
Right.
Like I was like, where did that just come from?
You set yourself up is what you're saying.
Yeah. And I started like being the reasons why I should direct. I know the characters. I know how you guys work. I blah, 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 blah. Like I started listing them and they trusted me. And when I started directing that, it was a found footage movie. So it wasn't like I had to get massive amounts of coverage in 6 days because it was only shot in 6 days. And I loved it. Like everything I've ever worked on through acting, through being a control freak to, like everything I work on was put into that movie. And then when I got Psychophonia, I got to cast who I wanted. I got to like find the location, the craft service. Like I love the whole movie business. I love how it's like a team effort and it's a family and that you're running the show and you're like, and I love giving actors different directions. So I just loved it. Like I love directing. It's so much fun.
So did any of you guys have a question? Because I had another one I wanted to ask her about directing.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about the movie thing because you're talking about how there's like so many people that go in. And of course, the bigger the movie, the more people. I mean, we know the end credits for Marvel and Star Wars. I mean, there's got to be 2,000, 3,000 people, on this list or whatever. But when Game of Thrones wrapped up their last season, they did like a full special on like going into making it and all these people. And you see like that, the family connection that like Jon Snow, we all know Jon Snow, but he's friends with, the AD guy or whatever. And they're like boys. They hang out all the time. They know each other's kids and stuff. How often is that connection with some of the bigger stars or anything versus people that have just they're helping hands, if you will?
I mean, that's the thing I love about the business is as soon as you walk on set, you're automatically a family.
Right.
Like, it's this, especially if you're on location and you're there for months, you become a family. You hang out together, you bond together, you're working 12 to 14 hours a day together. And it's like, you're creating this beautiful thing and everybody has their hand in it somehow. So, but the bad thing about the movie business is as soon as you're done wrapping, everybody disperses.
Right.
And it's really not real. And that's where it can be tricky for someone like me that's, addicted to people or are looking for that family environment of being a part of, that you can get really depressed after a job ends because, your friend that you just bonded with and hung out with on location for months and months and months, like Olivia Munn and I hung out on 6, and Nadine Velasquez, all of us hung out all the time. But then when we're done, we all go different ways, and you miss
kind of like high school.
Yeah, and you miss it, and you're like, oh, that's our family. But then you have to go, no, it's actually a job. They're not your family. You go and you're a worker among workers. You do the best you can. You make connections, but that's not your family. It's not real life, and sometimes it can get tricky to keep that in balance, especially if it's like years and years on a series.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you. So
I did have.
Go ahead, D.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No. Go ahead. It's. I can push my question back. Go ahead.
No,
D.
You go ahead.
You
go ahead. Hey, do you want to rock paper scissors?
Y'all need to stop being so polite.
I mean, hey Trav, you know how we are offset, man. This guy. Ms. Brianne, I just wanted to ask you. It's not really dealing with where we were. We're going to snowball again. Were there any actresses or actors that you looked up to? I mean, being into it and wanting to, get better and stuff. Were there any as you were growing up?
Even watching people?
Yeah, or even people that you worked with on set that helped you. Anything.
Well, I loved working with or watching Walton Goggins' work. He's amazing on 6, and the things he would do is just so fun to watch him. Growing up, I mean, I've always loved Glenn Close because she's just like goes fluidly from character to character. But I don't particularly try to emulate anybody or
even anybody who inspired you. I mean, maybe that's a better way to put it. Not necessarily emulate or take away from their game plan or how they approach a role, but was there anybody who inspired you to do what you do?
Well, now who inspires me more? Because like I said, I didn't want to be an actor growing up, so it wasn't like I was looking for that. I never But now it's like Reese Witherspoon, Elizabeth Banks. They have their own production company. They're directing. They, find writers. They're writing themselves. And then Jamie Lee Curtis, I really love, and she inspires me because she's an addict and she's in recovery and she brings it to set and she's of service to other actors. And she's also directing and writing and producing. Yep. So it's women like that like make me be like, oh, it's possible to do it all and be a mother because they're all mothers at the same time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Banks, it's your turn.
Thank you. So the question that I was going to ask is like, which do you have more fun doing, acting or directing?
Oh God, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because there's something about being an actor, going in and just playing that particular part. I'm going there, put on my costume, my makeup, and I'm playing that role. And as soon as I'm done with that scene, I go in my trailer, I take off all my clothes, I hang them up and I'm out. Like, it's peace out, see you till next time. As a director, you're there all day. You're the first person there. You're the last person to leave. You have your hands in every character. You know the arc of the story. You get to play around and do all that. So I like both aspects. It's more work, obviously, as a director. So I don't know. I like both of them, but I love as a director. It doesn't matter what I look like. when I was directing Psychophonia, our night visitor, I had a small scene, like I said, and when they were like, "Oh, your scene's coming up, you need to go get in the makeup," and I'm like, "I don't want to go in the makeup. Like, I just want to be directing." And they're like, "No, you have a scene." I was like, "I don't want to." Like, so there's a part of me that, like, being a woman and it doesn't matter what I look like, and it's more about, of what I say and like, here, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Adam Sandler shows up in sweatpants every day. I mean, why not
I'm never
you?
gonna do that. I'm never gonna show up in sweatpants, but it's just nice just to be there just for what's in your mind than like on the outside. Because on an actor, it's you're the product, you're the character. So.
Right.
Yeah. And see, what I love about what you're doing is because, like, say if you don't feel like acting anymore, you can just transition fully into being behind the camera and sitting in the director's chair. So it's always a good thing to have multiple, what's the word I'm looking for? To have your hands in multiple projects. So that way,
tool belt.
Yeah, the tool belt, like Batman. Yeah.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. So one question I wanted to kind of go back to Prom Night, because last month for Black History Month, I had made a post on Facebook about Lee Thompson Young, who his birthday was February 1st of last month. And I know that, you were on Prom Night with him, and, unfortunately he's no longer with us. Do you have any cool stories working with him on set?
Not really, because I mostly worked with Callan and, Jana Kramer and Rachel Spector and my whole gang. So I didn't have a lot of experience with, we stayed very separate and stuff.
Okay. I figured I'd just ask.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
That's what happens, though.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes you'll be in a movie with somebody and you never
met them.
Like, I didn't get to meet Chris Cooper on Jarhead, and I'm a huge fan of it. And we had the same manager at the time, and I was so bummed I never got to meet him because we didn't work together.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So rolling on into your book that came out, The Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict. I've read the description for it on Amazon. It came out on February 12th.
Yeah.
And, tell our viewers and listeners, like, what was the inspiration for you wanting to write this book? And if you can tell us about some of the characters in the book, please.
Okay, yeah. So I never wanted to write a book. I was never planning on being a writer. Like I said, I have a learning disability. So when my husband came up to me and he's like, there's this writing class. And I was like, what are you talking about? Go away. Like, I'm an actor. Just give me the dialogue. I don't want to be responsible for the words, But he kept mentioning it, and I think he said it like 6 times. And I'm like, fine, I'll take this writing class. He's like, it's not much money. You don't have to tell anybody. I just feel like you have a story. And I was like, oh my God. And I wrote the first draft of the book in 45 days. And it just again, it was like a higher power thing that just, it was something bigger than me. And it really was a memoir at first. It was about me working in Hollywood for the last, 20 years. And also being a sex and love addict. I'm a recovering sex and love addict of 11 years. And I wrote this character based on myself. But then what happened when I was doing rewrites with the editor, it just became this other person. It was like scenes came out in dreams and, other people's experiences and characters that I know, but obviously I have to change their name and you will never know who it is.
Of course.
You can try to figure it out. So it just became this other story. So I made it a Roma Clef fiction, which is based on real life, but you can change names, locations, timelines, and things like that. So we follow Roxanne through her first year of sobriety in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. And she comes up with the 10 rules she lives by. So it's a very self-help book. And there's characters like Cool Girl that, is like her friend that's like everything, this enigma she wants to be. And she's dating this guy named Superstar. And there's a whole scene there. And then there's Tattoo Girl that, is her married friend that has a kid that's also in recovery trying to be. And all these different characters that I have in my life in Hollywood. And so it says a lot of stories. So it's my story, but you will never know which story is mine. So that's the beautiful thing. I got to just open my soul and throw it all out there, and no one will ever know what's real and what's fiction.
That's crazy.
Nice.
I love the names too.
Thank you. Yeah. There's like glam girl, cool girl, tattoo girl. And then the two characters that have real names are Dr. Kath and Alice, her sponsor and her therapist. And then, you know, the guys that come in and stuff like that. There's ATL, NYC. Everybody has a nickname.
Yeah, the secret name. You gotta keep it secret.
Well, here's the thing. I don't care what anybody says. There's no denying that as soon as you see somebody, you pick out a feature about them immediately. It doesn't matter whether it's skin tone, eye color, if they got a mole, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter. As a human being, as soon as we meet somebody, we immediately pick out something about that person to remember them by in some way, shape, or form. And I just thought it was kind of cool. That's how you went with the character. That's Tattoo Girl.
Tattoo
Girl. And then she starts dating all these randos on DM that's like t-shirt guy, rocker dude, dirty guy, like all these
dirty guy.
Because I had this friend, which you'll never know who it is.
Right, yeah.
And she, every month, it was a different dude on DM, and I couldn't remember their name, so I just nicknamed them all. So, like, that is all true.
And I feel like all like friends in an inner circle have those inside jokes.
Yeah, like Trav, like how you have the ear.
The ear.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Got the
ear. But hey, you know, I think that it's really cool that this was on Amazon's bestseller list.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
I was hoping you were going to bring it up.
Now. Yeah. It hit like bestseller the first week, and now it's back on. It's crazy because, like I said, I never wanted to write a book. I was going to go to my grave that I'm a sex and love addict, other than my community, but just being of service, this younger generation that's coming in right now. And a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people don't know how to have intimacy, how to connect, how, you know, they're all swiping left, swiping right, trying to look for bigger, better, fancier, filtered, whatever. And I just see this younger generation that is really suffering. And it just made me be like, I have to be of service on a bigger level than just my community.
Yeah, again, applause to you for doing something like that, because you never know who is looking for something.
Exactly.
And then they can just stumble across it and be like, she helped me through, and you don't even know who this person is. They don't know who you are. But I know that you know, on the pod, that's pretty much what you talk about, a lot of things that involve sex and love and woman struggles a lot and stuff like, but I feel like there's a lot of stuff, you know, men can relate to too. It doesn't necessarily mean it's all just for women, you know.
Exactly.
What I mean?
No, exactly. I have a ton of men on, you know, we just had a guy talk about his eating disorder and his body dysmorphia. We had a guy talking about his vanity and narcissism. That this week we have, you know, a workaholic, a sex addict that, you know, cannot commit to a woman and always looking for bigger, better. We've had, you know, coming out stories. We've had men trying to commit suicide and go into a sale asylum. I mean, I have had just as many men and women stories, and that's what I love about it, because it's universal. Just because it's like a woman's problem, I know so many men that are addicted to a bad relationship, keep going back to the same girl that treats them like shit. They have low self-esteem. They look in the mirror and like look at their body and it's not perfect, or they're trying to like become this masculine man when that's not really who they are. All these things that men go through, that women go through. In my show, I want to like blow open the doors to all the shame, all the secrets, all the things we keep hidden because we feel like we're alone. But honestly, the four of us probably all have the same thing inside, where we're like covering it up with different things.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
money issues.
And all that stuff.
Yep.
Like my husband came on and he talked about his money issues, that he always felt like he was like, wasn't worth making a certain amount of money. And it was because he didn't think he was worthy. And he goes candidly into getting into DA, and he has a decade of recovery. So my husband and I, he produces it with me. We're both, you know, I have 11 years. He has 32 years in AA, 10 years in DA. And we just really want to be of service to other people. It's not about me or my guests. It's about the people that don't have a voice. It's our listeners that we care about.
Yeah.
And I just want to piggyback real quick and say this is the importance, and kudos to you for, to some degree, using your platform to help others. And, you know, it's always stress, whether it's sports, entertainment, anything. And, you know, thank you. I mean, you may not be helping, like you said, it may not be to me, but it could be, you don't know who's listening. So
yeah,
kudos.
You.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this was also refreshing too, because typically we just come on here and talk about comic book stuff or characters or movies
or banks
or whatever, or we spend.
I'm not even going to ask anything about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
But yeah, I think no matter whether you're in the sports or comics or anything, mental health is something everybody can come to the dinner table and talk about.
Right.
And but it's also so hard to talk. Like those guys coming on there talking about, you know, how they're narcissistic and all that stuff.
Tough, man.
They're making themselves like
vulnerable.
Hey,
vulnerable.
I'm an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm open about being one. And that's hard to do. Like not everybody can admit to that.
Well, because I've been a narcissist, and I think it's my what I try to do is the whole catch line is tell me your secret, I'll tell you mine. Every episode I try to reveal something about myself so my guests don't feel so alone. I mean, we have one coming up where a guy is obsessed with big boobs, and he's picked his partners because he's obsessed with big boobs, not about the women. So he was using women's boobs to try to like get off pretty much. And then we had another guy come on that remained anonymous, and he was addicted to toy collecting for comic books, and he found
that addiction.
and he's really still in the disease of, you know, being addicted to toy collecting and finding the perfect Spider-Man that has the paint perfect that's in the box, and walking and talking through that is just like a girl going out and trying to like buy a bunch of purses to make herself feel better. So I mean, I'm so grateful for the men, but and we just last week had a man on talking about going to massage parlors and cheating on his fiance. Yeah. We're all the same. Listen, I've cheated, and it's the same. Like, we're all trying to find this emptiness. I feel like everybody has an ism. Everybody does something to make themselves feel better, whether it's eat a piece of cake, eat a whole pizza, play video games all day, go on Netflix nonstop, you know, flirt and intrigue to make yourself be addicted to Instagram, getting likes. It's just like we all do something. Yeah, we all do something to feel better. And I just let's just all talk about it so it's not like making it worse.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really awesome that, like Dee was saying, you have this platform where you're allowing people to come up there and be anonymous and talk about the issues that they have, you know, whether it be, you know, collecting, you know, body positivity for me is one of the things that I always push online, because, you know, being bigger my whole life and then, you know, losing over 200 pounds. I used to be 456 pounds and I lost 200 pounds. So, you know. But
still, you probably had to go through something emotionally after the physical part was already changed. You still probably were feeling like you were 400 pounds is what happens. And you have to like get that out. Why, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's very hard because there are times where it's like I still have that mentality. Like me and D, we talk about this all the time, where he's just like, bro, you have to stop thinking that you're still that big. But it's hard when, you know, growing up, you're the same size and gotten bigger your entire life, and then to finally see yourself smaller, you know what I'm saying? And also too, it doesn't help that in social media land, you really don't see a lot of body positivity for men. You know, you see a lot for women. And I remember Trav can attest to this, where I had put a post on Facebook one day just asking, like, you know, why isn't there really body positivity for men? And, you know, I had some women coming up there attacking me, and it's just like, well, I'm not trying to attack y'all, because I support y'all. I support body positivity for everybody, but there really isn't any for men. So that's when I started doing the shirts off gang, where it's like, it was to encourage men to take pictures with their shirts off, because everybody is beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So shirts
off Banks, baby.
That's right.
Shirts off Banks. You know what I'm saying? So I applaud you for what you do and the platform that you're giving many people to come on and just talk it out.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming on this show and just expressing your truth and what you've gone through, what you're still going through, things you're dealing with, things you've dealt with.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just really, like you said, as an actress, people see one thing, but inside we're all like broken and trying to feel like we're enough. And that's the beautiful thing about doing this work, is that I help some A-list celebrity, but I'm also helping a social worker or a janitor or an elementary school teacher. And it's like, we are all the same. It doesn't matter what the outside looks like. People are struggling, and especially with society right now. And I just want to be of service as much as I can to other people.
Hey, well, cheers to that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to say,
have to blur that out, but not product.
I want to say on these last couple of episodes of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, they've been kind of getting real.
I love it.
Yeah. I love it. It's like Trav was saying, it's like usually we talk about nerd stuff, but it's always awesome when we have somebody come on and, it's not just like your typical interview. It's kind of like we're just having a conversation and just talking about like all walks of life. So it's awesome. And thank you for coming on and joining us. I had a couple more questions, and, we're not going to hold you any longer, but I had saw when, you were directing that your husband, he worked on some of these projects with you. So how is it working with your husband and, just having him by your side and working on these projects together?
I love it. We are great partners. Our company is called Give and Take Productions. We give and take, and he's just a wonderful person to collab with. He pretty much lit my whole Psychophonia movie. He didn't take credit for that, but I'm giving it to him. He is an amazing creative person. And like I said, if I wasn't married to him, I'd want to be his best friend. So it's just a blessing. We get, to go do the podcast together. He's behind Secret Life. There's 3 more books coming out after this one. We've got interest in the TV show. We're pitching another show around town of a true story, and it's just lovely to work with your partner and actually respect them. But he doesn't fill me either, which I have to say, like, he's a great man. We were together before I got sober in Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. We've been together 16 years.
Congrats.
And thank you, but he doesn't fill me. I'm not addicted to him. It's not a codependent. We're partners. We're 2 different people. He's not my soulmate. I don't have a soulmate. My soulmate is me. So it's beautiful not to be run by your love life, or if he leaves me, I will be devastated, but I will be okay. I would be okay without him. And I couldn't say that 11 years ago. I was always looking for somebody to complete me, and that's very dangerous, because nobody has the ability to complete us.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And it sounds like
say that.
Well, it sounds like, by the way you've talked about him, he doesn't want to complete you. You know what I mean?
No, he does not want to. Yeah. He does not want to fix me or complete me or be everything to me. That's too hard for one person to be for another person. Yeah.
So, hey, we've been talking about him. Give him a shout out so everybody knows who he is.
Mark Gant, he is the best of the best. He's been on Ocean's 11 and Cold Case and a bunch of other TV shows. You have to look him up, but he's a director. He directs a ton of crap and does promos for Freeform, and he's just directed a movie called Secret Life of a Surrogate and all that. So
that's so funny though, because I was gonna say the stuff you're talking about pitching. I was gonna say Freeform would be perfect for this stuff.
For real, yeah.
That's a lot of their shows are based on those kind of things. Maybe more teenager-ish, but still.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I could see Freeform or the CW, even Hulu or Netflix.
CW needs help if y'all want to go help them.
This dude
CW
Banks just made everything.
You guys can be our agents. Good job. You go get that happening.
When we see the show on Freeform, I'll be like, I knew.
Yep. And we're going to give you a shout out here on the podcast, Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks.
Perfect.
So did you guys have any other questions, or did y'all want to go and wrap this thing up?
I feel fulfilled.
I got one easy question. What was it like growing up in Georgia?
It was great. I mean, I love being from Atlanta, Georgia. It's different than it was when I was growing up. It's more metropolitan now. But do I want to live there again? I don't think so. It's very humid, and I don't like it.
Got it. All right. Banks, take it away, man.
Nice. Hey, well, Brianne, thank you again for coming on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. We appreciate you joining us on our podcast. And before we let you go, let everybody in social media know where they can find you at.
Yeah, please follow me at the Brianne Davis on Instagram. I'm on TikTok now, which is fun. It's
Nice.
the dot Brianne Davis, or you can go to at secretlifenovel.com. You can get a signed copy of the book or go to Amazon. We're exclusively with Amazon now for Secret Life of a Hollywood Sex and Love Addict. And the audiobook is coming out soon, so that's exciting.
Can you give us the scoop on who's reading the book?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, they like people love hearing the author read the book more than like an actor. And since I am an actor, I was like, I'll just do it, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
If it turns into a TV show, I do not want to play Roxanne the lead. So
yeah, but you at least have to make a cameo.
Yeah, I mean, I would really want to play Alice, her sponsor, because that's where I am in my life. I don't want to go back and relive my addict years.
Right.
Yeah.
That was too much for me.
Yeah. But we do hope that there is a TV show in the works. We hope that somebody picks it up because like I said, it's a bestseller on Amazon. It's an interesting story. And if you're already helping people out that are reading this book, like imagine the spread and, you know, if everybody was to see this story on TV or in a movie, you know?
Yeah, no, I whatever God has planned, right? Whatever the universe has planned is what's going to happen.
Right.
So,
Right.
God willing.
Let the pieces fall where they may, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it too. So D, let them know where they can find you at in social media land.
That's going to be rebellious _D23 at. Look at Trav. Why's he smile like that?
We already know what's coming.
I'm feeling good today, man.
Yeah,
I was just watching. He's waiting on it. You saw him, Banks?
It's gonna be he nodded his head.
You can find me at rebellious _D23 at Instagram.com.
And you know, me, same place, Instagram at ZK Audio, and Mr. Benjamin.
You know, first, before I say where they can find me at, I just want to touch on whenever we have a woman up here, D, he doesn't scream.
He doesn't scream. I know.
Hey, Trav, is that what you was waiting for him to do?
I was.
Yeah, he was on his head. He's like,
no,
go ahead, Banks.
Hey, get those gelatin shots, baby.
Gelatin time.
No, we try to keep it. We try to be more polite when there's a woman on the podcast because we usually get rowdy up here.
It's okay.
But yeah, you can find me at Hero Benjamin Banks at King Benji _Banks on Twitter and Instagram, and you can look me up on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to come up. If not, I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. And Brianne, thank you again for joining us. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers for watching this episode. We'll see you next time. Like I always say, keep that pinky up. Peace.
Bye.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.